Batman, Gallery of Fear, Chapter 1, The Last Fugitive. Gotham City, 10 months later. The rain never truly seemed to stop. It only eased enough to convince people that the worst was over. But in the Narrows, the worst never left. The buildings still bore the scars left by the fear toxin: burned facades, shattered windows. The twisted tracks of the monorail loomed over the district like the skeleton of a dead beast. After midnight, even the police kept their distance. But he didn't. A shadow moved across the rooftops without a sound. Batman. His cape vanished into the darkness each time he leaped from one building to the next. Rain streamed down his black armor as his eyes scanned every alley below. Over the communicator came Alfred's calm voice. "Another homicide has been reported, sir." Batman didn't answer. The victim lay before him. A man knelt against a brick wall, completely motionless. His clothes were soaked in blood. Dozens of small, parallel cuts had been carved into his skin. Methodical, like a tally. Batman crouched beside the body. No signs of life. The man's throat had been slit with surgical precision. His gaze slowly shifted to the marks. 53. The count had increased. His voice was barely above a whisper. Zsasz. Thunder answered. High above, someone watched. Victor Zsasz smiled. He sat on the edge of a 4-story building, drenched by the rain, hugging his knees to his chest. His face looked almost childlike. His eyes empty. He traced the tip of a knife along a fresh scar on his arm while watching Batman examine the body. "Find me," he whispered to himself. "You always do." Batman slowly raised his head. Silence. Rain. Then, the flash of lightning. Steel. A knife. He turned just as Zsasz leaped from the rooftop. The killer fell like a wild animal. Batman blocked the first strike with his armored forearm. The blade scraped across the metal. Sparks flew. Zsasz laughed. "I wondered how long it would take." Another slash. Batman slipped aside. A punch. Zsasz crashed into a wall, but sprang back immediately. He didn't seem to feel pain, only pleasure. "They say you're a monster." Another attack. "But all I see is a man desperate to convince himself otherwise." Batman drove a punch into his stomach, then another into his face. Zsasz hit the ground, still smiling. He slowly climbed to his feet. "You could end this right now." He spread his arms. "One move, that's all." Batman remained still. Rain ran down his cowl. No. Zsasz's grin widened. "I knew it." In one swift motion, he drew another blade hidden inside his sleeve. He slashed toward his own throat. Batman was faster. He caught his arm. Twisted. The crack echoed through the alley. The knife clattered to the pavement. Before Zsasz could react, Batman fired the metallic restraint cable. It wrapped around his wrists, then his ankles. The killer dropped to his knees, breathing heavily, still smiling. "You won." He looked straight into the white eyes of the mask. "Now it's over." Batman answered without emotion. "Yes." 1 hour later. The gates of Arkham Asylum slowly opened. The massive iron doors groaned as though the building itself were breathing. Built atop an isolated hill, Arkham resembled an abandoned cathedral more than a hospital. Stone gargoyles watched over the courtyard. The tall windows revealed no sign of life. The Batmobile rolled through the gates. Several police officers were waiting. Among them, Lieutenant James Gordon. He walked toward Batman as 2 officers escorted Victor Zsasz from the armored transport. Even in restraints, Zsasz smiled at everyone who crossed his path, as though he already knew each of their fates. "The last fugitive," Gordon said. Batman watched as the guards led Zsasz inside. "Finally." Gordon exhaled deeply. 10 months. He looked toward Arkham. I wasn't sure we'd ever finish this manhunt. That man remained silent. Gordon noticed. You're still going to talk to Crane, aren't you? Yes. He keeps insisting he doesn't know anything. That man stared at the towering building. He's lying. Arkham's corridors were cold, old, far too long. The lights flickered despite the recent repairs. Armed guards escorted Batman through the maximum security psychiatric wing. The cells were silent. Too silent. Some inmates watched Batman pass without saying a word. Others smiled. One man endlessly scribbled dates across the wall of his cell. A red-haired woman stood perfectly still before a small flower pot containing a single plant. At the end of the corridor, a steel door. Dr. Jonathan Crane. A guard slid open the viewing hatch. Crane sat calmly at a table. He wore the plain white uniform of an inmate. No mask, no hat, only the faintest smile, as if he had been expecting this visit for months. "Good evening," he said calmly. "Batman." Batman entered alone. The heavy door slammed shut behind him with a metallic boom. Crane remained seated. "I assume Victor Zsasz has been found?" Batman stood silently. "He has." Crane smiled. "Then I suppose I'm the last interesting patient left in this institution." Batman placed a small recorder on the table. "I want to talk about your experiments." Crane rested his elbows on the table. "Which ones?" "The patients you used to develop the toxin." "Ah," Crane smiled faintly. "Still looking for monsters." Batman stepped closer. "Where are your research files?" Crane looked directly into the mask. "You still don't understand." Batman remained motionless. Crane tilted his head ever so slightly, almost whispering. "They were never in my files." Batman's fist clenched against the table. "Then where are they?" For the first time, Crane gave a genuine smile. "In you." Before Batman could react, Crane slammed his palm violently against the tabletop. A thin, nearly invisible cloud escaped from a tiny valve concealed beneath the wood. Batman immediately stepped back. Too late. The toxin seeped through the filter of his mask. A tiny mistake, an imperceptible flaw. Enough. Crane watched, without blinking. "I spent 10 months wondering," his voice seemed distant, "what it would be like to test an improved version on someone who believes he no longer feels fear." The room began to spin. The sound of the rain vanished. The lights flickered. Batman took a deep breath. The lenses of his cowl filled with static. For the first time in a very long time, he heard a sound he had sworn he had left behind forever. The beating of thousands of wings. In the darkness. And Jonathan Crane smiled. "Welcome to Arkham, Batman."
Batman. Gallery of Fear. Chapter 2. The House of Fear. The world disappeared. The fluorescent lights above Jonathan Crane's office stretched into endless white lines before being swallowed by darkness. Batman staggered. His breathing echoed inside the cowl. 1 breath. 2. 3. The filters were working. They should have been working. But this toxin, it was different, stronger. Crane's voice lingered somewhere beyond the darkness. "Fear doesn't create monsters, Batman. It merely strips away the lies we tell ourselves." The room vanished. Bruce stood inside Wayne Manor. Not the ruined manor, not the rebuilt one. His childhood home. Warm. Filled with light. The fireplace crackled quietly. He recognized every painting, every piece of furniture, every creak of the wooden floor. "Bruce," his mother's voice. His heart nearly stopped. Martha Wayne stood in the doorway. She wore the same dress, the same pearl necklace, the same gentle smile. The smile Bruce had spent his entire life trying not to forget. "Mum?" Behind her stood Thomas Wayne, alive, calm, uninjured, no blood, no bullet wounds. Only the father Bruce remembered before Crime Alley stole him forever. Thomas smiled proudly. "You've grown, son." Bruce couldn't breathe. For one impossible moment, he wanted to believe. Martha walked toward him. She gently touched his cheek. Her hand was warm, real. "You look so tired." Bruce felt tears gathering in his eyes. "I've missed you." Silence. Then a warm drop landed on his hand. Blood. Bruce slowly looked down. Blood streamed from Martha's fingertips. She never stopped smiling. The pearls around her neck began to crack, one by one. Each pearl became a human eye, watching him. Thomas stepped closer. Without warning, his chest split open. Thousands of bats burst from inside him. Bruce stumbled backward. "No." Thomas kept smiling. "Why didn't you save us?" Wayne Manor began to rot. The wallpaper peeled away. The fire died. Black water flooded the fireplace. Martha's voice echoed through the darkness. "You promised." Bruce covered his ears. "This isn't real." Their faces decayed. Their eyes disappeared, leaving only empty sockets. "You let us die." Bruce opened his eyes. Arkham. For only a second, Jonathan Crane still sat calmly across the table, watching, smiling. "Remarkable," he whispered. "Most patients would have broken by now." Batman lunged toward him. Reality dissolved again. A sharp slap. Bruce turned his head. Rachel Dawes stood before him, exactly as she had looked 10 months earlier. Tears filled her eyes. She struck him again. "You became exactly what you fight." Bruce said nothing. Rachel stepped closer. "Do you remember what I told you?" Her voice trembled. "It's not who you are underneath. It's what you do that defines you." She looked into his eyes. "And your actions erased Bruce Wayne." A familiar voice answered from behind her. "Master Bruce." Alfred Pennyworth emerged from the shadows, perfectly dressed, hands folded behind his back. He wasn't angry. He was disappointed. That hurt far more. "I failed you." Bruce slowly shook his head. "No. I raised a good man." Alfred looked at the batsuit. "But Gotham turned that man into..." He hesitated. "Something that belongs to the darkness." Rachel stepped beside him. "You don't even know who you are anymore." She touched the bat symbol. "Bruce Wayne?" Then the cowl. "Batman," she whispered. "Or just a lost man?" The words cut deeper than any blade. Arkham's corridors twisted. The walls bent. Doors vanished. Hallways stretched endlessly into darkness. Outside the windows, the stone gargoyles slowly opened their eyes. Batman clenched his fists. He remembered his training. Fear is a tool. Learn to control it. Another voice answered. "No." Bruce froze. Footsteps echoed across the corridor. Slow, measured. Henri Ducard stepped out of the darkness, exactly as Bruce remembered him. The beard, the calm eyes, the composed posture. You never understood my lesson. Bruce stared. You died. Ducard smiled. No. Another figure emerged behind him. The old man Bruce had believed to be Ra's al Ghul. His burned face slowly peeled away. Beneath it, Henri Ducard, Ra's al Ghul. The same man. The truth Bruce had accepted 10 months earlier now returned as a nightmare. Raz circled him slowly. You chose compassion. You saved one man. He paused and condemned an entire city. Bruce answered firmly. I saved everyone I could. Raz smiled. You saved me. The walls disappeared. Gotham rose around them. Riots, fires, crime, children crying, bodies lying in the streets, sirens, chaos. You refused to execute a murderer. You refused to destroy Gotham. You refused to do what was necessary. He stopped directly before Bruce. And yet, he looked across the city. Gotham still belongs to fear. Silence. You failed. A gunshot. Crime alley. Once again. Joe Chill stepped from the darkness. The same worn jacket. The same trembling revolver. Bruce remained still. Joe smiled. You spent your whole life hunting me. He slowly lowered the gun. But I was never your greatest fear. Something enormous moved behind him. A towering figure, nearly 12 feet tall, wearing a stitched burlap mask, a weathered hat, long fingers like dead branches. Scarecrow, but horribly transformed by the toxin. His body seemed fused with the walls of Arkham itself. Joe Chill looked behind him. For the first time, he was terrified. The creature slowly tilted its head. Its whisper echoed through the corridor. I'm not his fear. It looked directly into Batman's eyes. I'm yours. The stitched mask slowly tore apart. There was no face beneath it, only endless darkness. Thousands of bats poured out of the void. They filled the corridor. Batman instinctively stepped backward. His heart pounded. For the first time in a very long time, he felt real fear. Far away, very far away, he heard laughter. Real laughter. Jonathan Crane in the real world. The psychiatrist watched Batman collapse to one knee inside the interrogation room. Curious, almost fascinated. He leaned forward and whispered, Tell me, Batman. A pause. When the bat is gone. Another pause. What will remain of Bruce Wayne?